just a little bit. No, let's see. Alright, so a little background information on these. These are jet bikes from the Warhammer 40K wargaming tabletop game. And let's see, put autofocus on. And hmm. Alright, so yeah. So yeah, this is from the Warhammer 40K game. I've yet to actually start playing it, only because I'm waiting for my friends that wanted me to start playing with them catch up to me. And that's kind of how things go sometimes, I think. And I think that's kind of funny. So I'm just setting up my workspace a little bit. So I really enjoy painting these. They are, and they can be a little bit difficult to do because they're so small. But I think that makes them pretty okay, or pretty fun to do, just because of that little challenge. So you'll notice that they have little fly stands and such, and that's just so that they can be propped up. So let's see. There we go. So I've already undercoated these with Chaos Black, which has a matte finish, and basically the point of that is to uh, give something for the other paints to adhere to better. So I've already undercoated them, so the next thing is to lay down the base coat, which is going to be like the predominant coat. And for that, we're going to go with this. Will it focus? Probably not. Anyway, it says Lead Belcher. It's a metallic paint. And these ones you have to give a real good shake. I hope these are still alright, because it's been so long since I used them. Alright, that looks good. That's good. So, and I think since we have a fairly large area to cover, I will start with this one. Since we have a fairly large area to cover, what I'm going to do is use my small base brush and put a little bit of the paint on my palette. Pro tip, and I didn't know this before, I've been using paint for so many years, and you would think it's common sense, but it's not. It's not. Anyway, the pro tip is never dip more than just the bristles into the paint, because if you let the paint get all the way up to uh, the shaft of the brush, it can ruin the glue that holds the bristles in place. So we're going to water it down a little bit. And this is just so that the paint flows fairly evenly all across the surface. I apologize for the background noise. We're just going to go ahead and lay this down all over. And if this was a recording, I would cut out a lot of this because it's unnecessary to watch. But yeah. So when post magic, I might do that. So some parts will show through it, and you'll see like some brush strokes still when you're done. But that's okay. We'll just do a second coat, and the paint should be fairly even at that point. So yeah, since most of this is metal, it's a really good idea to try to get as much of it coated in this lead belcher as possible. The only thing I don't like about painting miniatures is because since I wear contacts a lot, I have to, or they will constantly dry out because I don't blink as much when I'm focused. Same for reading. It's almost like I don't want to miss anything that's going on, which is silly to think about because, you know, these kind of things usually stay stationary. So, another pro tip to make it easier on yourself when you're painting miniatures is to break things down into what are called sub-assemblies. So you don't have to work so hard trying to get all the little nooks and crannies that are blocked off by pieces that you add on later. So in the Warhammer 40K universe, you know, you have different factions and such, different races of creatures. And by the by, there's no such thing as good guys in this. It's kind of every man for himself kind of thing, where they're all some shade of evil essentially. Some more evil than others, granted. So I would say, in terms of like D&D, for example, you have the Elvish race known as Eldar. They're more like neutral evil. You know, they're not going to go out of their way to do bad things necessarily, but they're likely, or they're probably going to uh, wage war against you just for being in their space, and they won't necessarily hesitate to commit genocide. Just saying. So, and then you have the Imperium of Man that are lawful evil, everything for the Emperor, who's like their human savior, who protected them from invading armies and such. Um, you also have like space orcs, essentially, orcs in outer space, and then you have various races that are more or less uh, those few that are uh, just slightly altered somehow, either through like genetic modification, you know, science and all that, or like splicing of technology. And the army that I chose are the Dark Eldar. They're like space pirates. See, yeah, I wish the lighting was better because it just kind of looks shiny on the camera, but you know, whatever. You make do with what you got. So, just getting some more paint. So, there are specific paint schemes and such for your different armies, and you don't have to use those. They're very optional. In fact, you know, reading a lot of the manuals and such, they encourage you to have your own colors, paint things however you wish. And so I did. I created my own little mini faction of Dark Eldar, and these are their colors: is silver with like a little opalescent shades to them. You'll see how I achieve that once I get to those points. So there's like a system of painting these that makes it really easy to paint a lot of small detail and such. Like you don't have to be super accurate. So and you'll notice that as I go along what that process actually is, what all that entails. But yeah, it's all pretty straightforward, very structured system. You'll notice like there's a lot of crevices and such to get into, which makes having paint that flows fairly easily all the more important to have. Like you don't want it so thin that it's basically just, you know, a wash. At the same time, You want to be able to push it around as you need to.